Hello and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stewart. Our guest today is Greg Gunter. Greg, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for the invitation, Bridget. Nice to join you.
And I'm pretty excited. This is a multicultural day because you live in Mexico.
I live in central Mexico.
Yes, in a lovely town that you have me really quite fascinated with, San Miguel de Allende.
There you go. Perfect pronunciation to Espanol.
So that the town itself, which of course I want to talk to you and about you and your career, but the town itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
We got
And
named
I
a
was just fascinated because it's been voted, I believe, 6 times by Condé Nast Traveler to be the number one small city in the world, right?
that's correct. Six times
So
by vote. By both Condé Nast Travel and Travel Leisure, both of them have voted as six. They each have their own readership. Not some editor that's deciding that; it's the readers that vote. So they submit their votes. Many of them, of course, have been here. That's why they're voting and going, "Oh yeah, I love that city. That's where we're voting it for number one again." But yeah, 6 years now. Not all in a row, but over the last decade, we've had 6 of those years we've been number one, which is just not even Paris has had that. I mean, it's a fantastic accolade to have for such a small little town of 150,000 people.
it's really remarkable. Now, and I love to travel, so you already have my curiosity piqued. Be prepared to give me some recommendations for your town and to meet me for coffee when I come to visit. But Greg,
Well,
I want to shift because the interstate, of course we talk about real estate. Sometimes, yeah, that's our chosen profession, but we're really talking too about the inner estate within each of us. And what do we do to create the lives that we desire? And when I think about what I've learned about you so far, I believe that you're doing that every day. So could you share with us a little bit? Because then the reason I mentioned that, you have a degree in architecture. Yes. And you also have a MBA.
like I say, I have an undergrad in architecture. I have an MBA in real estate and finance.
And you have not lived in your beautiful town for your entire life. So when I think of someone that is purposefully and with intention creating that life they want to live, those to me are signs that you're doing it because, now are an expert in real estate, an expat in Mexico, helping other people with their retirement and their real estate needs in your beautiful town. So tell me, can you share with everyone a little bit? I'll quote the talking heads, how did you get there? The paraphrase, sorry, I'll paraphrase the talking heads. How did you get there?
Well, I had made it. I'm a very goal oriented kind of person. Anyway, that's just kind of my nature. And I had made a decision back in my 40s that I wanted to semi-retire at 50. And I thought I'd semi-retire. I thought I would still be running my old business, and I still had most of my family was still alive at that point in the United States. Much as I love Italy, I needed something that was going to be a little closer. So Mexico seemed pretty kind of obvious to me. I had a timeshare in Puerto Vallarta and another timeshare in Cabo San Lucas. So we came to Mexico at least once and usually twice a year. So that kind of made sense. However, in my particular case, I can't take the humidity.
Oh, yeah.
I think with the environment my last few years in high school, I said, "Oh, I'm never doing that humidity again." And when I wanted to make the move, I wanted to be here full time. I knew I wanted to be here full time. Many people own a condo or a place on the beach, but they're only there 2 weeks a year,
Right.
and that's okay. 2 weeks of the year, practically, you can handle the humidity even for 2 weeks. But living there year round on the coast, you have to be under an air conditioner for 7 months of the year there. Anywhere on the coast, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, Cancun, all those places. So climate was very important to me. I'm a weather snob. I've lived most of my adult life in Denver and San Diego,
Okay.
and so there are only two inland places really in all of Mexico that are good expat destinations. One of them is a little community called Ajijic on Lake Chapala, down near Guadalajara.
Okay.
It's a relatively new town. It's not that old of a town, and has a limited number of how do I put this politely? A limited social and cultural infrastructure.
Okay.
That's one way to kind of put it. Wind is blowing my curtains, so the curtains are kind of coming into the. It's a beautiful day
I
here.
think an atmospheric.
Yeah, I was going to say. By the way, team, it's March 2nd, and we're filming this with 87 degrees and sunny outside. It's gorgeous, beautiful, like 13% humidity. I mean, we're at 6,400 feet in altitude, so the climate is wonderful. So back to that storyline. We'll weave back to it here eventually. How did I pick this? Well, San Miguel de Allende has 480 years of history, and I'm an architect, and the architecture here is incredible. It's been preserved. San Miguel was a ghost town for about 80, almost a ghost town for about 80 years. So rather than a lot of the cities that sort of grew and got commercialized and the buildings got torn down. I mean, anybody that's been to Athens, Greece, for instance, that whole city, except the Acropolis, is all concrete. It's just ugly. We didn't have that kind of growth. So because of that 80 year or so time frame of being basically a ghost town, all of our old architecture was preserved. And so once we got designated a UNESCO site in 2008, the core center of the town is now protected by that UNESCO designation. So, for instance, I live, work, and play in a UNESCO World Heritage Zone. And back to that, comparison to Paris, only the banks of the Seine are a UNESCO zone in Paris.
Right.
That's interesting, isn't it? Live, work, and play in a UNESCO zone. So that's a really interesting comparison, and that was a no-brainer, to be honest with you. The comparison between, so I moved to Haiti or come to San Miguel. San Miguel won hands down
Right. It was not even a contest, really.
in the contest. And one of the things that you learn once you get here is we have the largest English language, social, and cultural infrastructure of any place in Mexico. So as an expat who doesn't speak perfect Spanish, you're looking for something to do. I joke that if you live on the beach, your entertainment options are who has the best happy hours at 2 for 1 or 3 for 1. Is the singer that's strumming the guitar, is he drunk or is he still sober? That's the entertainment options of the beach. Here we have the opera, the symphony. At any given time, there's 6 musical events on any given night of the week, 6, 7 nights a week. A couple of plays that are going on in town. There's always something to do here that's English language based. And sometimes it's bicultural, bilingual. They
Right.
just have 10-minute plays, and those 10-minute plays, one would be in Spanish, then there would be in English. So the same play they would repeat.
That's
And there's
great.
a that's a really fun
I think
that's
that sounds really fun. I think we should do that here. I should look in my town and see if we have that going on.
yeah, it's a fun thing. They've been doing it here for, I don't know, a dozen years or so.
So tell me a little bit about, because now, so how long have you been selling real estate?
Well, I've been a full-time expat in San Miguel de Allende for 17 years.
Oh,
There's another little thing we were kind of talking about. And I'm a very goal-oriented, a goal-directed kind of person, and making your own life.
right.
So when I first made the decision to start building a house down here, I still had my old company. That was in 2007, 2006 actually. And this little thing that came along called the Great Recession in 2008
Mhm.
and 9. I'll remember that, right? My
Yes.
company had gone belly up by March of 2009. My old company that I had co-founded with my co-founder.
Right.
We were belly up. I was a retail developer, and retail just all went to
Right.
halt by the March of or by March of 2009.
Right.
So I was one of those very Buddhist-like persons that said, "Leap, and the net will appear."
Mhm.
And so I decided to come down having no clue what I was going to do because I lost everything in the Great Recession. I had to
Right.
start over. I was really starting over. So the semi-retirement plan did not work. The getting here by 50 worked. I did move here at the age of 50, but unfortunately not semi-retired.
Right.
So I pilfered around a little bit in marketing and public relations because that's what I love to do. And was not successful at that. I mean, you're competing with Mexican wages to do that. So I got into real estate. And it was kind of a natural segue for me. I was a retail developer previously, but early in my career, I was a residential architect,
Right.
and I've been building homes with my own hands since I was 15. I built my own first home here, so I know about building them in Mexico, which is very different than building them in other parts of the world. So it was kind of a natural segue, being an architect, doing residential designs. I built 3 of my own custom homes. It was kind of a natural segue to get into real estate here, and thankfully, it's a way to actually earn a living.
I think it's fantastic. And you practice with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And
And
I
the
believe
broker,
that your
yeah,
location has actually received some accolades.
well, you mean our office location? Well,
Yes.
we're kind of considered the first and flagship office for Mexico for the brand.
That's what I meant. Yes.
I opened the very first office here in Mexico for the brand. It's great because I inquired of them cold and just said, "Hey, aren't you guys about ready to open an office in Mexico?" And the CEO called me 20 minutes later. I didn't even know who he was. He goes, "Hey, we hear you're ready to open an office in San Miguel. Let's do it." I'm like, "Sure."
My goodness. I mean, that's amazing.
It
And
was. It was a
that was an instance of you just took the action. You just made the call, and
exactly.
then look what that allowed into your life.
Exactly. That's an action I'm taking and driven toward. I had been working for another real estate franchise down here in Mexico for 8 years prior to doing that. So I was not getting the support and I mean, it's a long story, but I was not getting the kind of support that I needed.
Right.
And I thought I could do much better and not be giving away 30 cents on every dollar that I earn
Right.
by an office. And so it was a natural segue to kind of open up my own office. And the good thing about my office is that I am in partnership with a local Mexican woman who has had an office here for 25 years. So we like to talk about our franchise. We are the first bicultural, bilingual, bicultural office in all the franchise of 1,500 offices. Basically, we're the first bicultural, binational one based
I
in
think that's
Mexico.
great. That's great. So tell me a little bit about um truly becoming an expat, and were there difficulties there? Were there things that surprised you? Was it easier than you thought? Tell everyone a little bit about making that move.
I needed a little bit more of an English language infrastructure because when I moved here, I spoke 3 words of Spanish.
Oh, Quiero,
Really?
Taco Bell. Wait, that's
Right. Yeah. Una cerveza, por favor, those kind
yes,
of
yeah.
ones that you learn when you go to the beach.
Right.
So I needed a little bit more of a social English language infrastructure, when I moved here. And San Miguel thankfully has that. However, one of the things that all of us locals do like, and I kid with my clients, my buyers when they're coming down, I say, the wonderful thing about San Miguel de Allende is, you go to Cabo or Puerto Vallarta and the waiter walks up and goes, "Hi, I'm Jose. I'll be your waiter tonight." And here, the guy walks up and says that in Spanish first. And if he tells you you're really struggling with your Spanish, then he'll switch to English for you. But we love it that we are really, you go to Cabo San Lucas, you feel like you're in Miami Beach. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's a whole different vibe. Here, we've got the 480 years of history. We've got the architecture. We're like the Philadelphia of Mexico,
Mm.
where the independence, the revolution started here. So it's the president of Mexico for most of the time I've lived here has come here every other year. The president of the whole country comes
Right.
here, right? The independence. So it's really got a fascinating history from that perspective as well. It's really incredible town.
So if someone is listening to us and they found us because they're interested in becoming an expat, what are the first steps someone needs to take? If someone's listening to us and they're freezing cold in Michigan right now.
Life's too short. Don't put it off. Come down and visit. I mean, you don't know until you visit here. Now, frankly, maybe I'm a little, well, no, I wasn't biased when I came. I mean, got here and within 24 hours, I said, I'm going to live here. I come back again the second visit. And when I came that second time, I said, I'm not leaving until I have a piece of land to build a home. And sure enough, I did get a piece of property that one visit. But, come down and visit, let yourself, learn a little about the culture, the history that, we have 650 restaurants in this phenomenal town. We have more entertainment than you can stand to do. I had clients that came here and he says, Greg, I'm from Manhattan. I think I'm going to be bored stiff in this little old tiny town of 150,000. He comes to me at the end of the week. He's like, I'm exhausted. My wife's had a Saturday night this week. I'm exhausted. There's too much to do here. We call it the little Manhattan of Mexico.
That's incredible. So you know what? And this is just my theory around it. But sometimes when you're in a place like Manhattan and you're living there full time, you have a tendency to find your favorites and your go-tos, and you tend to go to them often. And I'll bet where he is now, he is probably going to more places not as often, right? And expanding what he's going to, which I
Well,
think would
people
just
love
be that small city versus the large city.
Right. What people love about our town is that we are like a small European village, very walkable. So I have a car that is 3 years old and I just put 9,000 miles on it. I barely drive anywhere. I walk to dinner. We walk to the theater. If my partner's wearing high heels, we might order an Uber. The cobblestones can be a bit challenging walking in high heels. We walk everywhere, and I mean, even to dinner and the theater and the symphony and the opera. We'll often walk to. I walk to my business meetings. So yes, it's very easy. Of the 650 restaurants, I can probably walk from my house to probably at least 400 of them. I haven't I hate to say it, I'm a realtor. I work a little too much to get out and dine as much as I'd love, but I have my favorite 100 or so out of at least 650.
That's amazing.
Here's some interesting statistics or points to bring out, Bridget. We have become the culinary capital of Mexico,
Okay.
widely known as the culinary capital of Mexico. The chef that runs Pujol in Mexico City, which is the number one ranked restaurant in all of Mexico, and is always on the San Pellegrino top 50 restaurants of the world. buys his veggies for his restaurant here
Oh,
in
wow.
San Miguel.
Okay.
He used to co-manage a local restaurant here as well. It was part of a restaurant. So that's how much of a culinary scene we have become. One of the chefs that I love to eat at his place is Mexican. He had a famous restaurant in London for 20 years. And when he got ready to move back to Mexico, he goes, I'm not going back to Mexico City. I'm going to go to the culinary capital of Mexico. And he came to San Miguel. And he has a phenomenally successful restaurant here. So we've really become the culinary capital in about, I've lived here 17 years, and I'd say in about the last dozen to 13 years, we've really ramped up the level of dining experience here. So there's a lot of, Michelin unfortunately hasn't put us on their list yet to rank our restaurants, but we know when they do, we're going to get, you
We
know,
call out. I'm tagging Michelin in this podcast. You have to come and see San Miguel.
to have you come to some of our restaurants. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
which town did you all steal the title from?
But the
What's the
number one,
No, in Mexico. What used to be like the culinary go-to spot?
well, Mexico City, I think, is,
Okay.
well, Oaxaca is widely considered a real culinary destination as well.
Okay.
But Mexico City's always had phenomenal restaurants, and of course they still do.
Right.
But on a per capita basis, we have way more and probably more variety. And I mean, we got everything from Lebanese to French to you name it. I joke the only ones we're missing, I think, is a Polish restaurant and a Russian restaurant. We don't have either of those, but everything else you can
You
imagine.
got
That's phenomenal. I love to eat. Thankfully, I don't weigh 300 pounds, but I do love. You're walking this town. You get to walk it off. So
Yeah, it's part of the lifestyle when you're less sedentary.
for the podcast, and it's going to be about a 12-minute walk to get up to the restaurant. So you
Mhm.
work up a little appetite, and then you walk your 12 minutes back home and work it off.
Right. So do you ever come back to the States?
I do. Yeah, I come back and visit. My partner lives in Miami, so I'm up in Miami a lot.
Mhm.
I've lived in Denver and San Diego, as I mentioned. I love both of those cities. We have family in New Orleans. We go to New Orleans a lot. So, I do go back up to the States, but this is my only home. So, you know, I, I spend the overwhelming amount of my time here unless I'm traveling on holiday.
So, Greg, what's interesting is I do know that San Miguel is your hometown. And I can tell you that because during our conversation, whenever you're talking about the progress the town has made, you say we and our. You knew that you did that, but like you just were. So this is
I've adopted,
absolutely,
yeah,
it
yeah, I've
is
adopted
your,
to carry me out in an urn. I'm never leaving this place. I absolutely love it. I'm kind of a destination snob. I mean, Denver and San Diego are both really nice places, and I
right,
love both of the cities. Part of what got me into this lifestyle down here is that when I lived in San Diego, I lived on an urban location. I mean, ironically, I lived on a canyon, and I had no view of freeways or highline wires or cars from the back of my house, but I could walk to Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and 200 restaurants in 8 minutes.
right.
I could walk. And I said, I want that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I came to San Miguel and I said, I can mimic that here. I can replicate it here at 1/10 or 1/8 the cost. I mean, the affordability of living here is just amazing.
Actually, I do want to go into a couple of practical questions because I do imagine that there's someone out there listening to you and I right now, and they do have a desire or interest in becoming an expat, but they probably have some unanswered questions around it. So I think a lot of people have a misconception that in order to do what you did, it would actually be incredibly expensive. What could someone expect if they're again, I don't want to pick on Michigan. They're sitting in Wisconsin freezing right now and thinking about the humidity coming in the summer, and they want what you have found, but they're concerned thinking it's gonna be too expensive, it's going to be too difficult, it's going to we that's something that was great. Hooray for Greg. It's great he was able to do that, but that's not something I could do. What
Well,
would you
Shane,
say to them?
if you're listening, remember I just told you a few minutes ago that I lost everything in the Great Recession. So I did not move down here with a big nest egg. I had a home waiting for me. I'd already built my home, so thankfully I already had a home waiting on me down here. But I lost that nest egg in the Great Recession, so I did not have that as a that was I was hoping that net was going to appear. The old Buddhist saying, "Leaping the net."
Right.
Well, it did appear, not that quickly, but it did appear. So I make more money than I've ever made in my life and living a very comfortable lifestyle. But you don't have to do that. You can live very affordably down here. You'll see news articles. I have a Google alerts that comes in every day, and San Miguel de Allende is one of the terms that I have because I like to see what comes up in the press. And
Right.
I bet 3 times a week you'll see an article that comes up about how you can live in San Miguel de Allende on $2,500 a month.
That's a great idea.
It's a very affordable, utilities or, electricity's a buck a day. Your cell phone is a buck and a quarter a day. Your internet's a buck 40 a day. I mean, all the overhead expenses are way cheaper. The cost of a home, if you're coming from the coast, is can be 1/8 to one
Right.
sixth of a coastal home. We're
Right.
about the same as the Bible Belt or the Rust Belt, but
Okay.
once you have it, the carrying costs for that are much, much cheaper. So it's staffed is wonderful. I mean, I've been doing my own laundry and cooking since I was 8 years old. I haven't done dishes or cooked or laundry for 17 years. I love that. My maid, that is about $6 an hour, cooks, she shops for the groceries, cooks, buys my flowers, arranges my flowers, cleans my house, does my laundry, does all my ironing. She's about $6 an hour.
Right.
It's crazy to not have, that affordable help down here. And that's what makes it also good for us aging boomers. You can age in place here.
Yes.
Very easy to find a live-in caretaker to kind of take care of you in your older years. Healthcare down here is much, much more affordable than it is in the United States. In fact, many people, even people like me on Medicare, pay out of pocket for most of it because it's going to be less or the same as your copay. Might be up in the United States.
Right.
So healthcare is excellent down here, and health is excellent. I mean, it's just the overall affordability of the lifestyle here is very affordable. So yeah, don't put it off. Don't wait till you're 70 years old. I joke my average demographic is 70. I'm like, don't wait till 70.
Well,
What
it's
am I doing?
funny, and I'd love your input on this. I know that you are a specialist in Mexico, but I think it runs a little bit more expensive if you're an expat and you go to Western Europe. I think that runs more.
It's a whole different, like one of the advantages about moving up to Mexico is we do not have a dual taxation. One of the reasons why I've never moved to Italy is because I've heard that Italy will tax you on your American income.
Right.
I'm gonna say, I already have to pay taxes to Uncle Sam. Why should I have to pay it to Italy also? So one of the things about Mexico is you do not pay double taxation. So that's
That's
wonderful.
great to know. And
So
by the
that's
way, if any of you want to reach out and connect with Greg, wherever you're consuming this podcast, his contact information will be in the description of the podcast. And it's Greg Gunter, Gunter. And I'm sure that you would be more than happy to help any of them that are considering your town to move to.
I talk to clients all the time about the lifestyle here, about what it's like to move down, about, we don't even talk about sticks and bricks until, later in the conversation if ever. I mean, a lot of people love to. That's why part of why I do so well down here, I think, is because people like working with an expat themselves who's
Yes,
gone through the whole process.
that's right. Yes, I
We can
think
help
that's
every
important.
step of that process, moving things down, getting your Menage de Casa, getting your residency visa, getting a driver's license, finding a property manager, sending you to the right endodontist.
Yeah, all of it. So, out of curiosity, and I want to go back to something from earlier in the conversation. So, you have this undergraduate in architecture and your master's is in real estate and finance. So, you are using what you learned in your master's in your real estate practice. Do you ever miss the architect side of
Not really, because I get to brainstorm with my clients and they're walking through a house and they go, like, can I do this? Can I do that? And most realtors go, oh, I don't know. I have no clue. And I can walk them through, yeah, we can open this up, this
perfect?
structure here, but the rest of this we can open up and I can walk them through that.
So, it's
So I
letting all
still,
your passions come to the fore.
yeah, exactly.
I think that's great. What's next for you?
I tell my class I'm going to do this to the day I kick the bucket. I mean, maybe I'll scale back as I get a little older, but because I love to travel and, I like to take enough time off to travel, but I have a full-time assistant. He covers for me when I'm gone. So, it's marvelous. And, I mean, I do love to travel, but this city is like living on holiday anyway. Just
I was gonna ask you, I was like, I don't know what you described. Just jumping back to the weather, which I lived in Orange County, San Clemente. I wasn't in San Clemente, I was in Laguna Beach, but that San Clemente is, some people say it's the best climate in the world, right? So I know what you're talking about with San Diego, and I've been to Denver and Boulder. But just tell everyone in San Miguel, what is sort of the average, what is your year like all year long, weather wise?
Well, and it's funny that you say everybody thinks the weather in San Clemente or Laguna Beach is perfect. I would argue that point. I always lived within a mile of the coast when I lived in San Diego, and we always had that. You've heard the term June gloom.
Yeah. No, I lived through June gloom.
For those of you not from California, and when you visit, they'll go, "Oh, we have this thing called June gloom." And when you move there, they go, "Oh, well, really, it's May gray and June gloom." And by the time I finally left California in 2002, it was mid-April through mid-November. You didn't never saw the sunshine until 11 o'clock in the morning.
You know?
And the summer could disappear again at 2 in the afternoon, so you only got 3 hours of sunshine. I kind of have a little bit of a seasonal affective disorder, so I got to have my sunshine. So this is the best of both worlds. We get sunshine first thing in the morning. It's sunny all day. Any season will run from we're a bit like San Diego from the standpoint that we're a desert environment. So we only get about 22 inches of rain a year, and our rainy season runs from mid-June to mid-September.
Okay.
And all that is that it's gorgeous like it is right now, sunny and clear until about 4:30. The clouds roll in for half an hour to an hour. It'll rain for half an hour or so, and then by the time you're ready to walk to dinner at 7, it's clear again.
It's already cleared up. But
So
your
it's
temperatures, don't your temperatures stay fairly stable within a certain range through the year?
well, the irony is we're at 6,400 feet of altitude here.
Mhm.
So we get a 40-degree diurnal swing in the wintertime. I
Gotcha.
mean, it'll be wintertime and it'll be a gorgeous 76 during the day, but it's going to be possibly 36 that night. So that's a big swing. And even in the summertime, we get a 25-degree diurnal swing. So even if it's 85 degrees, it's going to be down to a nice, cozy, very sleek, happy weather at 60 degrees at night.
Greg, stop trying to sell me. So you just described that's pretty much my favorite weather patterns. So I also left Southern California and I'm in Paradise Valley, Arizona. And aside from that pesky little thing called July, August, September, we have beautiful weather the entire rest of the year and very low humidity. And as someone that grew up in the mid Atlantic region and then lived on the coast, I do not miss the humidity either.
Yeah, we
So,
love it here. Typically in the wintertime, it's about 13%. It's absolutely,
right.
but even during our hottest month, for instance, May is our hottest month, believe it or not, before the
Mhm.
rainy season starts. We might hit about 90 degrees, maybe 5 days of the month of May. Again, there's no humidity, so as long as you're in the shade, you're fine. So it's not like you have to retreat to the air conditioner.
That's right.
It's going to be back down to 65 or so that night, so it's very comfortable, that night. So many people do not have air conditioning here because it's just not
Yeah,
needed.
really. Right. Well, it sounds to me that you are just truly enjoying the life you have created and this path you've chosen. And I just want to reiterate for everyone, it's not that all of this came to you quickly or easily. You experienced significant loss. You made that decision, or maybe the decision was made for you. Your first company closed in the recession and you held on to that dream. Did you have times, when that first closed where did you second guess all of it? Did you think, wait, maybe I can't move or maybe I have to move? Like, how did you keep going even when things were tough?
Well, I'd already made the psychological decision to build a home, and in fact, it was already finished by the time my company went belly up. My home was already finished down here, so I made it a little easier because I said, "Well, I got a home waiting for me.
Right.
I'm gonna go late. Why not move down there? How am I going to pay for it, or how am I going to pay the bills? I don't know yet, but I'll figure that out once I get down here." So it was kind of a leap of faith from that perspective, but I've been broke and built myself back up twice in my life, so
Mhm.
I have a little bit of confidence about my ability to do that,
Right.
even in a foreign country. And with the few language barriers that there may be or whatever, it's still quite possible to do. So, I'm not a genius. I'm not. It didn't take a ton of money. It didn't take a ton of connections. I had no connections. I didn't know anybody when I moved here. So it's very easy to meet people and make connections, and it's a very easy city to integrate with and acclimate to, and it's just yeah, it's a very welcoming city. One of the wonderful things I love about this place is, you walk down the street and all the locals will say "Buenos dias" or "Buenos tardes." They always say hello. They're very friendly. Very greeting. And of course, as gringos, it kind of rubs off on us, so we tend to do the same thing.
Right.
Saying hello to everyone. I joke, if you think it's going to be a 10-minute walk to the Jardín, which is our town square, you better double that because you're going to run into three people, on the way, and you got to stop and
Right.
chat.
Well, it's just
Uh,
fantastic.
Charming lifestyle.
And it's just a real inspiration. But, I was in real estate in Orange County during the recession. And, I joke and say some of these wrinkles, yes, they are from making it through because I stayed in real estate through the entire recession. And I just say not unscathed, but did it. And I too have rebuilt and it's a choice. And I know that you're saying, well, my house was already built and it was already there, so it made it easier. I've been in real estate long enough. There's a lot of people who may have been paralyzed by fear. And they may have said, oh, all I have left is that house. I have to sell that, and they may have been literally unable to make the move. So kudos for finding that strength within yourself that you were still going to manifest that dream. And as you said it earlier, you didn't know exactly what you were going to do or how you were going to pay for it, but you were going to get down there and figure it out. You did.
Yeah. That comes from a confidence level. I mean, I'm a kid that grew up in trailers, having to choose which bills we weren't going to pay that month because we couldn't afford to pay the water and the electric. And I was able to call myself a multimillionaire by the time I was 47. So I know that I have the ability to change that demographic status, if I do get myself to it. And I thought, surely I could do the same thing in Mexico. And I did.
Yeah, I think it's great. And
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
going
you.
to tell you, I really do look forward to meeting you in person and coming
I hope
down
you come down.
and
Hope
seeing
you
you.
come down. There's a lot of zonies that live down here, so they love it too because it's a similar kind of environment.
Yes, yeah. And this is my, new hometown. My new home state is Arizona as well. I
Yeah.
just love it here. But this
Yeah.
has been fantastic. I wanna thank you so much for joining us and for sharing about your corner of the world that you've carved out and that you're an example of you pick yourself up and you keep going. And you have the
Exactly.
confidence in yourself and the belief in yourself that whatever you need to do, you're gonna do, and you're going to make it happen. And as you said, it didn't come quickly. I'm sure you also faced some either hardship or disappointment once you got down there, but you just kept going. And you're a real inspiration for anyone who may be feeling overwhelmed or burnt out or feeling like a failure right now. Doesn't matter. Pick yourself up, wake up that next day, and just keep going.
I could give you another 2-hour podcast on the hardships that I've had.
What? When I come down, you know what would be really fun? We could record another episode and we could do it in person.
That would be cool.
That
I
would be great.
do a lot of podcasts here in person also. So that would be great to kind of give viewers an insight of what it's like for you to physically be here and,
Yeah.
some of the highlights of town. And yeah, you'd really enjoy that.
Well, I do. I also love architecture, probably not a big surprise. And I love UNESCO heritage sites, especially the ones in cities. I don't know if you've been to Bath, England or Edinburgh.
Yes.
Absolutely love them. And they've retained, not all, but they've retained a lot of the charm and a lot of the architecture. So it is, I am truly excited about coming down and discovering your town.
I hope you do. Let me help you plan your trip.
All
For
right.
you viewers, anybody that's out there watching, it's kind of like, well, I want, I need some ideas, some suggestions. Happy to help. It's not about something breaking it. It's lifestyle. I'm happy to help people from a lifestyle perspective. So I can't plan their whole trip, but I could sure give you some great recommendations and some advice and, where to stay, to what part of town to visit, that sort of thing. So happy
And
to help.
you can tell me where that 10-minute theater is because that sounds just fascinating. Yes, I love it.
Exactly. You'll love it. You'll love it. Come on down.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciated you sharing all of this and inspiring us. And if you are a guest listening to this episode of The Interstate, I hope that you'll come back again and join us for the next episode. Greg, thank
Thanks,
you.
viewers. Give us both a thumbs up at the end if you want and subscribe to our channel.
Yes, that would be great. Subscribe to both and give us some likes. All
Yep.
right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.